All right, we're excited right now because we love when we have folks that are outside the sports universe, but that are big sports fans on the program. Sam Jaeger's a guy who is up-and-coming actor. He's got this Netflix thing we want to talk to him about. I know as you're seeing him right now, you're going, oh, yeah, I know that guy. I know that guy. He is a huge Browns fan. He's a huge Buckeye fan. Sam, welcome to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. It's great to have you on, man.
Guys, thanks for having me. It's a thrill, like legit honor to be with you guys.
Well, we're glad to have you for sure. Tell us about the origins of your Buckeye fandom. I mean, most of us are born into this nonsense. How did you become a Browns and a Buckeye fan?
Same deal. You know, all my siblings. I have 3 older siblings. They all went to Ohio State. My daughter went to Ohio State. My stepdaughter, and I went to school in Otterbein. I grew up in Perrysburg in Northwest Ohio.
Nice.
And my dad was is a long-suffering Indians/Guardians fan. But man, that guy copes really well with loss in a way that I admire. I was like, man. I mean, I tell you what, how are we supposed to beat the Yankees when they're making $200 million more than we are?
Exactly.
And my dad was just like, well, you know, we had a great season, and I had a great time watching them.
You know what it is,
no,
Sam?
Dad, that's not fair. It's not fair.
You know,
take the Yankees.
But Sam, here's the deal, because I feel your dad's pain. I really do. And I watched my dad kind of go through that evolution, and now I'm doing the same thing.
Yeah, trust me, he does it.
It's experience. When you've been through so many heartbreaking defeats, so many disappointing series ends, at some point it's just, well, throw another log on the fire. Here we go again.
Exactly.
You'll get there, Sam.
I tell you what went a long way was that 2006 game against Urban Meyer's Gators. That hurt so badly.
Oh, God.
That after that, I was just like, you know what? It's not as bad as the 2006 national championship game. Everything after that is just like, it hurts, but what are you going to do?
That did set the bar.
Sam, we had Anthony Gonzalez on a few weeks ago, of course, the receiver on that team now in politics, living in the political world. And I was an Ohio State beat writer back at that time. I was covering Ohio State, and the rumor was Ted Ginn was the entire game plan against that game.
Yeah.
And, of course, he gets hurt. Roy Hall tackles him in the end zone, busts up his ankle, and the whole game plan went out the window. And Anthony confirmed it. He said, yeah, that's true. The entire plan, they're going to put Ted in the Wildcat. They had Ted lined up all over the field. And on the opening kickoff, the entire game plan for that game disintegrated before their eyes. And you sort of saw that play out. They could not move the ball against Florida that day.
No. I kind of feel the same about when Sermon went out in the COVID game against Alabama in the national championship 2 years ago. I was like, I have a feeling, I mean, that guy he was like Ezekiel Elliott level by the end of that season. And when when he went out, I was like, I don't think we're getting back in this game. I think a lot.
Yeah, your premonition was exactly right.
Again, I was like, that was a bad game. But still not as bad as that national championship.
And Sam, what people forget is they came right back after that and played LSU. Beanie Wells breaks off this huge run, and you're like, oh, they're ready to go. Here we go. Let's run it up, boys. And then
that was it.
That was done.
Yeah. That's the hard part about rooting for 20-year-olds, isn't it? I mean, you're just like, I put all my time and energy into this, and they're just like, they're so
fickle
emotional.
Kids.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that. That's crazy.
I
have a 20-year-old right now, and it's like, oh, my God.
Yeah.
No. And it's literally his day is determined on whether he eats Fruity Pebbles or Frosted Wheats in the morning. It's just like, how am I supposed to – that's why it's a miracle when you have a winning season. You're just like, to get all these kids corralled and focused and like Maurice was saying, get them angry or find some sort of level of aggression that they need to harness. That's hard to do over a whole season with college kids.
It really is. And now that you have, the fear of losing all the money for these either the kids that know they're going to the NFL, you kind of watch and you're looking at them in the game and they're going, he doesn't care. He's not even trying. And you're a grown-ass man sitting in a chair rooting for a 19 or 20-year-old who's about to go make $8 million a year, and he's just in his mind, he's got to be laughing that he has such control over grown men's emotions.
Crazy.
Oh, completely. I don't know if I was Jackson Smith and Jigba, if I would come back to play.
I had a conversation with a friend yesterday.
Oh, no.
Same conversation.
Yeah.
I did. Look what he has to lose.
Yeah. He's going to be, top 2 receivers out in the draft. And
he's going to make a boatload of money.
Yeah, yeah.
And he doesn't want to go out and get hurt.
Yeah. And a lot of these guys grew up in a situation where they had the opposite of that. And so if they're thinking about, I want to help out my family and do all that stuff, I'm not going to blame them. I mean, of course.
Yeah,
that's one of the great things about this NIL thing.
Hey, I noticed the H on the left sleeve, so I know that's an Ahmed shirt. And then I saw a glimpse of Cedar Point. As a Sandusky kid, I love the fact that you're wearing a Cedar Point shirt. Favorite ride at the park?
Ooh.
I know that's tough.
That is tough. This is so funny. My 12-year-old is obsessed with roller coasters, but also terrified of them. So I get so many questions about, like, Dad, what's your top 3 rides at Cedar Point, like, weekly? And I think I got to go, Millennium.
Millennium is great.
But I think Maverick is just so fun.
Yeah, it is. It's a different one. I love Steel Vengeance. I really do.
Yeah.
I mean, It's for me it's the prototypical roller coaster. It's got all the thrills that you want. They're putting a new one in right now. It's like the mouse ride or some I don't know what it is, but I think they're going to be individual cars that actually spin while you're going through the roller coaster, and that might be too much for me. That might be too much. I don't know.
Yeah,
Hey,
it's
Sam,
funny. We go out to the Magic Mountain out here, and it was like, it's a long-time competitor of Cedar Point, and it doesn't have the same magic as that park. There's just something about pulling into Sandusky and seeing it across the water and pulling up.
You're so true.
It was, I like every summer I'd be like, hey, which church groups from Perrysburg are going? Because we got
Bro, he's right.
that I'm there at least 4 times this summer. So I was like, okay, I'm going to Zor Lutheran is traveling on the 23rd. Grace United Methodist is going
Sam, there's an attendance policy for them Sunday schools, though. In the summer camp, you got to at least go to 85% before they let you in that trip. I didn't try it.
They got smart.
You got 2 more weeks. You can't miss.
Show up for Cedar Point Day. That's not how it works.
Yeah. Hey, I want to talk to you about Devil in Ohio, but first, hand to God, I swear, I don't know if she's watching. My wife just texted me and said, you better tell Sam how much I loved Joel on Parenthood. We watched every episode. We watched the entire series.
It's a great
It was
show.
our favorite show at the time. I was so sad it went off. It was a massive cast. I can't believe NBC could afford to pay you guys as long as they did. It lasts as long as it did. What was that like? It was This Is Us before This Is Us. For the youngins who like This Is Us, Parenthood was before This Is Us. How did that happen for you? How did you get on there? And just take us through what that show was like for you.
Yeah, I think the reason it wasn't as big a hit as This Is Us is it was called Parenthood. And so I think people who were like, well, that's not me. I'm not a parent. But watching that show, I was always like watching the teenagers thinking, boy, that is exactly what being a teenager is like, the struggles, and I think that's what kept us alive is that we, all the stories resonated with anybody who's a family, family man, a mother, a kid. But I came onto that show. It was like they didn't know what to do with my character to start off because he was and I was the last person cast, strangely enough, and I didn't find this out until we were shooting the pilot. One of the producers at NBC said my character was a stay-at-home dad.
Contractor,
yeah. And the producer said, you know why it was so hard to cast your role? And I said, why? She said, because my boss is a working woman with a stay-at-home husband, and her boss is a working woman with a stay-at-home husband.
Wow.
So there was a lot of discussion about what your character was supposed to be. and I said, the question is whether they were trying to cast for what they wanted their husbands to actually be or whether they were trying to cast what their husbands were. I don't know. But it was...
Sam, I got to ask this question. Got to get to it. Now, I'm a former football player in college. So when you play football, you got to have all these random, you lift weights, you run, you do drills specific to what you do, just so you can go out and prepare and play on Saturdays or Sundays in the NFL. Now, for you, a lot of people don't understand what is your training routine when you are trying to learn a script and learn your lines. Are they putting you through some sort of drill? Do you have something special you do, like your process to learning a script, and how fast do you usually retain the knowledge?
That's a good question. You know, unless they just kind of leave you to your own devices. If it's, you know, a character you got to build and memorize, you better show up and be memorized. And I've been on sets with somebody just doesn't have the material, so you gotta work. I have an app that just kind of repeats all the dialogue so I can memorize it over a couple of days. But I usually start looking at the material 2 days before I get to a scene. Otherwise, if I look at it the night before and show up on set, I'm not as sharp as I should be. But you know, I went to Otterbein University and learned a bunch there about how to prepare. But yeah, it's pretty nuts. You just got to be like, you got to train yourself and keep sharp. And luckily, I'm surrounded by really talented people, and I don't want to drop the ball. So I'm always trying to, you know, you always got to keep learning, right? The second you stop and think, well, you know, I'm pretty comfortable, that's when you start to, you know, lose your edge. And I always want to be hungry.
Sam,
you know?
I'm fascinated with the journey. There are so many folks that did everything you did. They went to the right college, they studied, they thought they were ready for it. But the number of folks that toil forever and never get those big credits like you've had and those big opportunities, what is that like? It's almost like trying to become a professional athlete. If it was easy, everybody would do it. Everybody wants to do it, but there's a tough barrier to entry. Tell us a little bit about your journey. I know you said you went to Otterbein, but how did this whole thing unfold for you?
Well, you know, it's interesting. When I got to college, I was one of the youngest to be a lead in the play there. You know, I don't think they'd had any freshmen who were leads in the plays at Otterbein until I got there. And by the end of my time there, I don't know. Theater is a weird thing because you want to instill confidence in kids, and I was lucky enough to be as cocky coming out of school as I was going in. And I think a lot of kids got told over years, like, yeah, you know, you got this, you got to work on this. And I just happened to look like a 40-year-old at 20, so I got all the juicy parts. It's a relief to finally look my age now. But, you know, I think I just kept on. Here's a good story for you. My son is obsessed with Legos, and he wanted to enter the Lego competition. And he started looking at the other competitors that were posting their stuff, and he was like, why are we even going to submit? We're just going to lose. And I said, buddy, my whole career is lost. It's just accepting loss at every level. I get one out of every 20 jobs. And so there's 19 jobs that I just kind of accept, and I have a whole Rolodex of coping skills that I pull out. I'm like, oh, well, it wasn't meant to be. Or, I pull out the next one and it says, oh, is that who you guys went with? Well, you have terrible taste. I wouldn't want to be a part of that production anyway. So it's just a whole, there's a whole list of things where it's kind of shrugging off all the rejection you get and just persevering. It's like Harrison Ford once said, a whole bunch of kids got off a bus and I just never got back on the bus and went back to the town I grew up in. And so
you just keep going, keep trying.
Yeah. That plus extreme luck, kind of those things have to combine in order to keep this career going. So I've been lucky to work with great people and hopefully that continues.
Well, this is the first time and last time you'll ever be asked a question by a guy named McNuggets, but our producer's dying to ask a question. So, Mikey, go ahead.
Yeah, Sam, hey, thanks for coming on. We really appreciate it. In doing some research, I saw you're attached to the new Saw movie that's either going to be filmed next year or coming out. And do you know about this? Or do you know you're attached?
No.
Well,
Wow,
on
congratulations,
IMDb,
you just got a job.
We
We
heard
heard the
it.
new Saw movie. So if not, this question is completely irrelevant then. So I'm going to ignore this question.
Yeah, I mean,
I told you it's the last time you're going to be asked a question
It's the
by
last
Goddamn
question I'm ever
McNuggets.
asking on the show ever. I can't believe the internet anymore.
This dude is like,
I was told to believe everything on the internet.
It's the wrong blue check mark on Twitter, right? Is
No,
everyone
it's
got
on
it?
IMDb. I'm looking at it right now. It says Sam Jaeger and Emma D'Arcy from House of Dragons are the two co-stars
Wow.
of this.
that's a
Congratulations,
good call.
Sam.
That's a good call. Hey, that's
this
crazy.
is great, man. This is great. Hey, we heard it here. Thanks for keeping me employed.
That's fantastic.
You gonna call his
What's your
agent.
favorite job, Sam? What's the one role that you've enjoyed more than any other?
Well, Parenthood was special because it was, it was a great time, being a kid. I was a young dad, and so I could kind of take everything that was happening in my life and take it into work with me. But also, doing Handmaid's Tale right now is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, watching all those, the cast, and we're 5 seasons in, and everybody's still trying to make the show better, and that's a real treat.
Some actors and actresses don't like to talk about this, and I'll totally understand if you want to take a pass. But I always like asking, what was the role that got away? The one that you really wanted, you thought you had a chance, but you didn't get. Do you have one of those?
No,
Wow.
I will say I auditioned for, again, I gotta come up with these coping skills, but I don't like to look back and try and say what could have been. I will say that I put myself on tape for the Macbeth movie that one of the Coen brothers did.
Oh, wow.
And I thought, well, that's the best work I've ever done that nobody will see the light of, it'll never see the light of day. But
Wow.
there's yeah. But there's also, it's a strange career. Like I did right after Parenthood, I did 2 TV shows. I was the lead on 2 shows. One was produced by Spielberg, and both of them were on a network where they had a new head of the network, and so they didn't want any of the old shows. And so I did 2 shows that will never see the light of day. And those are the things that are hard, because you put all your time and you go travel. Like my family traveled to New Zealand for this one Spielberg production.
Wow.
And the network was like, no. And so
we don't want that.
That's tough.
we don't want that.
It's got to be
Yeah.
done. We got to get your thoughts on the Browns. We're kind of looking
Denzel
at the
Ward
Dolphins.
is playing, by the way. He just said he is playing this
wonderful.
weekend. As in the
Okay.
last
Good.
minute and a half, Denzel Ward.
That's
a
a huge plus. I've been saying all week long, if Denzel doesn't play, this is a hard L. I think they've got a serious chance. Now, this to us, it feels, Sam, like it's a playoff game because you start doing the math, you start looking at the schedule going forward. Somehow you've got to get to 6-5, and for that to happen, they've got to beat 3 really good teams. I mean, Tampa Bay with Tom Brady can be great. They can also be, kind of a question mark. But we're looking at as a playoff game and a must-win. What have you made of what we've seen from the Browns so far, and what do you think about what this team can be moving forward with Deshaun Watson?
Boy, that's a tough one. The verdict's out on the Deshaun Watson of it all. I still feel like they would have been better off saying, we're going to take our shots with kind of anybody else. When you have people that are waiting for someone to come in and kind of holding the fort, that's a precarious position to be in. And then the pressure's going to be on when he comes back. There's suddenly going to be this powerhouse, and that's hard. You just don't add one person and immediately go, you're a 5-star team. So they got a lot of great elements, and they're a tenacious team. But I think Clarett was right. You want a little bit more nasty, and I just feel like they're waiting. They're in this holding pattern. So I think this is a crucial game. If they lose one more, I think it's numbers. Getting into the playoffs with one more loss at this stage would be pretty harmful.
Yeah, the margin of error really goes away. If you're sitting at 6 losses and you're 9 games in, it's just about, they say you are what your record says you are. Mm-hmm. At that point, you are a 3-6. And trying to turn that around somehow would be next to impossible.
I got 2. I got 2 questions completely unrelated. I'm going to smash them together and make one. Number one, I want to go back to Parenthood. I'm still hung up on Parenthood. You worked with a very, very young Michael B. Jordan on the set.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering what that was like, if you saw then what he has become, if you saw that in his future. And then also, tell us a little about Devil in Ohio on Netflix now. There's a lot of Cleveland gear in that show, and how much say did you have in that is the character?
Yeah.
In sort, not the character, but in sort of like the background setting and all that.
Yeah. Well, to Michael B., I mean, he was just a sweet kid. He was a talented, sweet, tenacious kid. So you could, but, I just think his career took off. He happened to be at the right place at the right time. He's talented. He's thoughtful. My closest friend, Jonathan Majors, is in Creed 3 with him coming up. And that's very much, he's one of those guys that I met on a project years back, and I thought, this kid is he's a firebrand. He's in the new movie Devotion coming up, which he's fantastic in. But it's just it's exciting to watch these young guys come up and take over the world. As far as Devil in Ohio is concerned, that is I was stunned because we shot that in Vancouver, and when I showed up on set,
Vancouver's nothing like Cleveland.
I know, it felt like they did such a good job. One of the producers spent a good chunk of her time in her childhood in Ohio. So when I showed up on set, I said, it's funny, if anybody came to this set and saw how many pictures of like Ohio Stadium are up, and like, that people have a framed Ohio State logo above their mantle, they'd be like, this is a little overboard. People in Ohio don't really decorate their homes in scarlet and gray. And the answer is they absolutely do. A framed picture of the horseshoe, that's not uncommon in Ohio. So it was really awesome to step on set and be like, hey, we're in Vancouver, but I feel like, somebody's a Buckeye here. You guys got this.
Yeah, just to know that that's a real thing.
Yeah.
They do that indeed. Hey, listen, Sam, we can't thank you enough for coming on the program. We'll be looking for you in Saw. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, by the way,
Hold on, a little vindication. Let's take tag board full. Once again, I know the internet doesn't lie, but it does say that is Sam Jaeger and the DRC. So hand up, my bad. I'll never ask a question again. I'm so sorry.
You better call your agent, Sam. I think you got another job coming.
Right on that. Boy, I'm excited. There's a check in the mail.
He's allegedly in Saw.
I might as well go ahead and leak the information that you in House of Dragons season 2.
Let's do it.
You're actually riding one of Daenerys' dragons that came back from the dead. So here you go.
You bet, man. You bet.
Sam, continued success, man. Thanks for joining us on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.
Thanks, man.
We appreciate it.
Thanks, Sam.
It's